I've been wanting to create a new sketchbook ideas video for you, but I couldn't think of anything I really wanted to share that could be interesting. So I thought, okay, let me just share how you can use Pinterest without copying to get new ideas for your sketchbook. Let's get creative. Let me bring my iPad in. So I'm just going to turn it on and open Pinterest, and we are going to use the very first image it shows us. Okay, so we have these cute birthday cupcakes, and what stands out most to me is the tiger. So I'm going to use that as inspiration. And I actually love the color palette of the second image so much, I'm going to use similar colors. I've been craving to create something on this double spread sketchbook for so long, but I honestly didn't have a clue on what to draw. So I'm happy I'm getting to it today. I'm going to start by sketching a cute little tiger with a birthday hat. And my next thought was to create a little bit of its habitat, so I started drawing a palm tree. I knew tigers come from Asia, but I was unsure about their habitat, so I Googled a little bit of information and I quickly found that tigers are sadly on the brink of extinction. How can that be so sad? They estimate between 3 and 5,000 wild tigers are left. That's so infuriating, so sad. I honestly took a super long detour from working on my sketchbook because I got lost on this research. I wanted to know more and understand what's happening to tigers. And I ended up in the page of the World Wildlife Organization. I will link it in the description in case you're interested, because I do recommend you visit if you want to know more about the subject. It explains a lot and it explains it very well. I did sign the pledge to do my part in taking care of the planet so I can help even from the other side of the world. And yes, I made a donation too. But the pledge alone really helped me to understand how very little the change in our lives has to be to make a difference in the world, and how we can all help the world be better, not only for animals, but for us as well. So yeah, the largest population of wild tigers is on Indonesia, the Sumatran tiger. I kept looking around at Sumatra, its rainforest, and all of the other animals that live on the island, and I found this bird, and I thought it would be perfect to draw it on the spread too. I completed my pencil sketch for the page, and because I've been using them so much in my private sketchbook practice, I thought I would color the background with my tempera sticks. These bring me a lot of joy, so I wanted to play with them, and I just started messing around putting color down. They blend a little bit, but not that much. I have a video of me using only these on a sketchbook in case you're interested. They are not expensive, and they are really, really great to experiment with. But mostly here I wanted to create a solid background, and I didn't want to paint it with the acrylic markers because that takes way too long. So I used all of the colors from that second reference image, and I actually thought that background looked great. I was only going to do the background with the tempera sticks, but I was enjoying the process so much, I decided I would base everything in my drawing with the tempera sticks as well, so that I would have a nice solid background to work on top of with the acrylic pens. Time to bring out the markers, and I started by working on the palm tree by outlining it and just giving it more character with my markers. I was playing around with color, layering, and giving more definition to the leaf. It's hard to explain how I went about using the markers, but as you can see, I use loose strokes. And honestly, this is not a tutorial on how to paint like this. This is about showing you how taking one little picture as inspiration can lead you into creating something uniquely yours. You just need to focus on something enough to spark something and then get your creative juices moving. And another thing that helps also is doing what I did today and just using the art supply or medium that you're craving the most to have fun. I moved from the leaves of the plant tree to the trunk, and I thought it also needed to be fun, so I colored that with purple and yellow. And then I thought, I'm making everything really bright, so let's do the outlining with bright pink. I wanted to use my favorite color, Payne's Gray, to color the bird instead of doing it all with black. But of course, like I said, this is my favorite marker, my favorite color, so it's out of ink now. So I switched to a dark purple. At this point, the image of the bird, it's purely for inspiration. I'm not following it. I'm just looking at it to place my colors more creatively on the little bird that I drew. I like how the bird was coming together, but I needed the ink to dry a bit before I layered more stuff on it. So I moved on to the tiger. And while I was coloring the tiger, I was thinking there's so many ways you can interpret this reference picture that we chose or that we were randomly given, because the tiger cupcake is what caught my attention. But of course, you could have picked any other of the animals, or you could just do a page full of cupcakes, or even a page full of cute party hats with different patterns and designs on them. Really, if you just give your time, your concentration to something and you focus on it a lot, thoughts and ideas will flood your mind coming from this one image. And I hope this really shows us you don't really need to steal anybody's work, you just need to be inspired by it and then let your imagination carry you through. So back to what I was doing, because I had to use the dark purple before to replace the black. Of course, the black stripes on the tiger now would be purple as well. And as my first strokes on the tiger dried, I moved back to the foliage and work on the tree behind it. Honestly, this was my favorite part of the page because this is my favorite way to use paint markers. I like to think of them as paint brushes and use them to easily draw all of these small painterly strokes, layering and layering them all over and just having the color come together like that. I also worked on the heart-shaped leaves, adding color to them, and then it was back to the tiger because it needed a lot of love. I still hadn't defined its face and it looked a little bit weird, so more stripes, polishing everything, and then I added its eyes, and right then I thought it looked a little bit psychotic. So I started adding yellow, trying to make it look cuter. That needed to dry, so I went back to work on the leaves on the side a little bit and added fun polka dots to the birthday hat. Back to the face, tried to fix it with whiskers, and it was still looking crazy. I mean, that's what I thought then, because it doesn't look as bad now that I'm editing, but right then it looked psychotic to me, so I thought I would let it dry, and while it did, I would add some highlights and some sketchy lines on top of everything with a white marker. Once I was done adding all of the highlights, I went back to the eyes. I tried to cover them with yellow, but the marker totally picked up the black since it wasn't dry enough. So I had to let it dry for a while and then went back and did the eyes with black again. I touched up a few things, and after everything dry, I added some shinies on the eyes, and here's my finished spread. I actually love it. I'm obsessed with it. It's adorable, super cute, very cartoony, but I love how the background works with the markers on top. It's bright and beautiful, different from what I usually paint, and I used the supplies that I was craving, and that made me happy. So I decided, you know what, let's go for a second page. And while I moved the sketchbook out of the frame to bring the iPad in, someone took it as a signal to move in and stop the creative session because she was about done with me working. She is super spoiled. She wants attention, and yeah, she wasn't moving. She's like, I'm staying here. I'm bored. I need cuddles. So I decided to let her be there for a while and use my iPad on my lap. So I made a little screen recording of it, and this is the first image that popped up. After recording that, I took a little break, and then she was okay with me using the desk again. I couldn't decide on what colors to use, so I pulled out a color card from my Sarah Renee Clark's color cubes, and I just went in with a yellow marker to sketch. I drew a horizontal line or a tabletop, and then 3 of the vases, copying the shape a little bit. I also liked that the flowers were kind of chunky, so I drew mine like that. And I thought I will have a little bird on there also. Again, I'm going to use my chunky tempera sticks to do the background, but this time I'm putting a scrap piece of paper behind the page I'm working on because I did make a little bit of a mess with the previous spread. I went with solid pink for this surface, and I love the texture that these tempera sticks create. It's very painterly. I like it. And then I decided I would do a striped background, so I just started drawing stripes with 3 colors, filling up all of the space. Then I also used the sticks to fill in the vases, and I played with having different shades of yellow for them and just seeing how the tempera sticks blended. I outlined the bird a little better and added some color to the flowers with the sticks as well, just because I feel they save me time and ink as they cover faster than the acrylic markers. Then I let it dry for a little bit, and it was time to bring in the pens. I thought I would polish the background by adding more stripes with the markers, and I think that looks very, very nice. I like the combo of these two. Maybe I should use tempera sticks somehow for coloring too. That's what I was thinking. Then I started working on everything else, tightening the drawing, and I thought a darker pink would be nice for the bird, pink on pink. I was still loosely referencing the color card I picked, so a dark pink kind of made sense within those colors too. I moved around all of the design using the markers to make things sharper and to layer in more color and to add details. Following the reference image, I wanted the bases to have some pattern on, so I drew some flowers for one and a lot of lines for another. I loved having more stripes in this composition. And I left the middle one blank with just the texture of the paint. Then more details on every flower, just polishing everything to finish. This was actually a pretty simple idea, but I think the colors made it work and I love the finished piece. I think this would make for an awesome postcard or even a print. Mostly, what I wanted to get from this sketchbook session was a bit of laid back fun by releasing the stress of choosing a subject and staring at a blank page. I'm so happy I got to create on my favorite sketchbook too. Here's another look at the first page we created, and yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for joining me, and remember, creating any type of page is better than not creating anything at all. I hope you enjoyed this video and that I'll see you next week in a new one. Have the most wonderful day. Bye.